Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast, episode 25.
Milestones, 25 deep, man. Quarter to 100, we almost there.
Yep. So last week we had a special guest on the episode, a returning guest, actually Rupert Missick. So if you missed that episode, go ahead and feel free to go give that a listen. This week we have another guest.
For sure, man, that's the fam.
Yep. This week we have another guest, brand new to the show, James Breske. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, guys. I still can't believe you guys got Consider Your Mind as a name. You guys got so lucky with that.
You like that?
That is wild.
Hey, man, yeah. Definitely, it was a blessing, man. Bought that .com and the rest is history.
That's so crazy. That's amazing. I'm surprised Facebook didn't buy it and you had to pay like $100,000 or something for it. But anyway, yeah, no, my name is James Breske. Rhymes with jet ski, so people remember. It's spelled very weird, but yeah, no, I was diagnosed. I've been diagnosed with all kinds of things, right? Like I've lived all over the country. I was born in Alaska. And my dad, he was like a crab fisherman and a teacher, right? So it was
all the stereotypes.
Dude, tell me about it. And like, just the whitest man you could imagine. And no, it's just like I tagged along with him, right? And like I thought nothing of it. And like life was good up until I was about 7 or 8. Like when I was around 7, I remember, they start to indoctrinate you into like, I'm Catholic. So like, it was like, I was Catholic anyway. Like I'm kind of lapsed just because I'm tired.
Yeah, you were raised that way.
Yeah. And I remember like
I
growing up in these little native villages, right? Like the priest would fly out to the town of like 200 people. Right. And, and I remember hearing like the body and blood of Christ as a kid, and like we would have the service in someone's house, so most of the time it was ours.
Yeah, communion.
Yeah, and I just remember hearing the body and blood of Christ, and I was like, all right, we're in some crazy cult. That's pretty neat. No wonder we live up here. You know what I mean? Like we're having it in a house, not in a church. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, not explained at all.
Yeah.
Not explained at all, man.
Yeah.
No, man. So that's awesome, bro. So, no, man, I definitely, again, we did a little bit of talking before the show, to kind of introduce, ourselves. We got hooked up through a friend and family, member of the show, our boy Steve Moore, moreawareness.com. So, when we were talking to Steve and said, hey, man, I have this idea to do a show on borderline personality disorder. Then he said, hey, I have a friend, who actually, has been diagnosed with that. And so I said, hey, you know what? We're going to, get him on the show. And so we can get, kind of expertise into, what that's like and kind of the process of, coming to that realization, getting the diagnosis and living with it. But yeah, man, not to interrupt you too much because I know you got an amazing story again, coming all the way from Alaska, the whitest man in the native village, all the way to your journey here to encouraging people to get, therapy and, work on your mental health. So yeah, we appreciate you for having you on the show. But real quickly, man, as I was doing a little research for the show, looking up, BPD, borderline personality disorder, it's just the definition. The Mayo Clinic one is a mental disorder characterized by unstable moods, behavior, and relationships. The cause of borderline personality isn't well understood, and diagnosis is made based on symptoms. Symptoms include emotional instability, feelings of worthlessness, insecurity, impulsivity, and impaired social relationships. So as you kind of look back on that, bring me up into the journey of like, hey, native, villages in Alaska to finally getting diagnosed with that, disorder. Did it kind of like, when you got diagnosed with that, did it make those dots leading up to that connect any better?
Yeah, man. So I think I was 26 when I was diagnosed. No, 27. Because like one of the symptoms of BPD, especially in males, is impulsivity or addictive or
risky behavior.
Yeah, risky behavior. And I was good, man. Like I remember my dad's bipolar, right? But like, they
Okay.
tried diagnosing me with that, and they gave me the meds, and nothing. It just made me sad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, I was just like, I've never been manic. You know what I mean? I've never been happy
Mm-hmm.
on my own supply, so I don't understand why you're doing this. But when I was 27, I went to treatment for the first time, and for drug use disorder. I
Mm-hmm.
was hooked on my own ADHD meds, right?
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And the other thing with BPD, especially in guys, is like there's this weird attention seeking part to it, right? Like, I would show up to parties and stuff like that, be the coolest guy, right? Because like, I would take over the party with like my crazy life story, like, I'm from Alaska, I've done these things, I've done this, and then I would just disappear, right? And my friends thought I was living this extravagant, crazy life, but all I was doing was, like, using and playing video games and other nefarious things, right? And when I was diagnosed, I didn't really understand what it was, right? So I was just like, am I a psycho now? Like, do I have to go?
Ah, there you
Is
go.
that like,
Yeah.
is that the cure? I just have to start killing small animals and work my way up? Like what is? I've seen Dexter. I know how to do this, right?
I was about to say Dexter. Wow, you definitely got that from Dexter, bro. But you know what? But I'm so glad you said that, because that's one of the reasons we're doing this show, is because these last, I guess, month or two, we've been doing episodes on kind of disorders that are misunderstood. So again, what does it mean to actually be, diagnosed with schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar disorder? What does it really actually look like, instead of, just saying it and using it almost a slur? Let's look at it and take it seriously.
I kind of ignored the symptoms, right? I ignored when I was first diagnosed. I was just like, that's not me. That's whatever. But as I look back, I remember like my first relationship in high school, right? Um, I was very possessive. She was probably my first addiction. I just got over her probably a year ago, and it's been like 13 years. I thought she was the one, right? Like, because growing up, like,
The one-itis, I've heard it called that
yeah,
one-itis.
man. And then it just turned in this epic Greek tragedy of a high school relationship. But I was super shy too. I was afraid to get close to people. Back when I was a kid, when I turned about 8, um, so from 8 to about 11, I had lost about 22 people that I loved and cared about. And the reason why the number's so high is because in Alaska, especially in the villages, we take planes everywhere. And there was a plane crash in 1999 that killed about 11 of my friends, people that I grew up with, people that I knew. And then shortly before that, too, my mom passed away, right? My grandparents both died within a month. And the first person that I lost, to bring it back to the Catholic thing, like, I thought praying was going to be the answer, right? Like, the first person I lost was my cousin Lori. Me and her were the same age, and she had brain cancer, right? And I remember just praying. I'm like, yeah, God won't, like, if he's all loving, he
Yeah,
won't.
he won't let her die. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he'll give me my cousin back.
And then
He'll do me a
and then
solid. That type of.
she died, and I was devastated. I felt betrayed, right? And I think one of the worst things you could tell a kid too is like, God wanted that person more than you did. And it's just like,
Oh, he needed to call one of his angels up. People try to say some sweet stuff. I've heard. Oh man, I know.
and and it
Yeah.
just hurts. So I was very disassociative at a young age. Again, another one of the symptoms. Um, and and I was afraid to get close to people because I was wondering who was next, right? Like,
Yeah, because you dealt with a lot of that death, a lot of loss back to back. You can get very, used to that disappointment. And okay, that makes a lot of sense. You said disassociative.
oh yeah, yeah. I was very disassociative as a kid. I would try to have friends, but eventually, like, something would happen. And another one of the symptoms too is like, and I didn't know this until recently, talking to my therapist, but is like, all of a sudden, it's like different emotions towards relationships, right? So I would have crazy, like, I would be really close to this guy one day, and then the next day I would betray him, right? And like I would bully them or something like that. And like, I just wanted to feel something, right? Because of that disassociation. Now I was bullied a lot too as a kid. And that, like, just growing up in different places where I was the minority for a little bit, and
Yeah, well, you look different.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that sounds crazy to people. And the thing is like, I got to experience like 10% of my life what other minorities in this country have to deal with every day, right? And I see that in a different light. But I remember back to my sorry, I'm all over the place, but back to my first girlfriend. When my dad remarried, me and the stepmom didn't get along. That's why I'm here in Minnesota. They just kept me here because there was better schools and different opportunities. And when I got my first girlfriend here, I thought that was it, because like learning from my dad, I was like, oh, all you need to do is find the girl and then you're good. Like life just
Oh
happens.
man, Disney fantasies, man. Just
Right?
go, rescue the princess from the tower. She'll love you
Oh,
forever.
man. And Disney, but,
He got sold at hook, line, and sinker.
and Disney messed us all up, man, because like, as
It
guys,
betrayed
like
us.
we're supposed to get the girl. This is how it's supposed to happen, right? And like, people
Yeah,
wonder why
but do the right
guys,
things.
like, I really do believe that like guys are just as emotional as girls. I mean, look at prisons. You know what I mean? Like, most of the crimes committed there were like crimes of passion, right? Because our emotions, because we're losing that thing that we thought we cherished. And with this first girl, I was so possessive, and I remember when it ended, I was devastated. I was just like, well, this is it. I started smoking cigarettes. I started drinking more heavily.
And what age was this? What age is this
I
we're talking?
was 19 or 18. Um,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay, yep, yep.
And, and I didn't really like have a problem per se until later on. Like, I when I graduated high school, it was Great Depression Part Two. It was 2009. There was no jobs
Hmm.
anywhere in my high
Yeah,
school.
yeah, we're around the same age. Yeah, yeah,
It,
I remember that.
yeah,
I
remember
remember.
when gas was 503 for like 6 months?
Yeah, the Great
We were
Recession. Yep,
18.
exactly. It's all over. Housing market crash. Exactly. We talk about that in certain earlier episodes. How we went through all that change and they gave us bleak prospects even after college or high school. Well, there's no jobs out there. Good
Good
luck to
luck.
you.
Yeah, have fun with your debt, you idiots. And
Yeah.
like in high school, I didn't try at all. I didn't care until the end of my sophomore year. My counselor was like, "Hey, like, instead of going to math and English and stuff, because I'm dyslexic as well, so I didn't know how to read until I was about 12
Oh, okay.
properly.
Okay.
And I still can't spell. I have to pay for Grammarly every month, and even Grammarly, when I type stuff, is like, you're dumb.
Oh
Like,
man, that's cold.
you know what I mean? Like,
Thank God for therapy. Even Grammarly trying
right,
to depress you, put you down out here, man. See,
right.
it's a cruel world we live in.
But like, anyway, when she left, I um I already had a paramedic license from my high school. It was part of the PSCO program. I had
Yep, yep.
Yep, and all of a sudden I cared about school because I'm like saving lives. You know what I mean? Like, I'm learning how to save lives. And
It had some meaning, some purpose to it.
right, and after I lost my girlfriend, um, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and then I came back, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to be a firefighter. I'm going to train to be a firefighter. I'm going to do this. And I was hyper focused on that. And then in 2010, the day before my physical test to be a firefighter, I broke my neck in two places. And half of my
Wow.
right side of my face is mostly metal. Now, a jet ski accident. James Breske revs a jet
Jet
ski.
skis.
Yeah, weird. Yeah.
Oh wow. Rescue with the jet ski.
Yeah, man,
Man.
never be a passenger. That's what I tell people, right? And
Gotcha.
the recovery process for that was long.
Terrible.
When
Yeah,
you break your neck, is
absolutely.
wild. I thought my face was going to be disfigured for my entire life, and luckily, like, I got like one of the best surgeons. He did pro bono because I was young and didn't have insurance at the
Oh man.
time. And
Nice.
after all of this kind of happened, I didn't realize, since I was the passenger, my buddy's uncle, who owned the jet ski, was pretty wealthy, and he had really good insurance on it. And I got a call one day and was like, "Hey, we're going to give you 150 grand." And I was 20,
Mm,
right?
a lot of money.
And to me, that was all the money in the world, right? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was. I'm like, I'm the richest man for
Yeah, at
150
19,
days
20
straight.
years old, I remember, yeah, man, I was eating noodles in college.
Right. You know what I mean? And like, all of a sudden, when I got that money, everything changed for me.
Mm-hmm.
I started my first job out of when I was done recovering was overnights. And it's really hard to stay awake during overnights.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
I've done it before, man.
I can't do it anymore. Like, it's too triggering for me now. I told my boss, if they ever put me on overnights, I'll be back on meth in a week. You know,
Wow.
just because it just affected me so much, because all of a sudden you're all alone. You don't get to see anybody. You don't get that crazy party life that you want until your days off, which for me was Monday and Tuesday. And the only people getting messed up on a Monday and Tuesday are what, like,
Your fellow
late
people with you.
early 20s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean. And my buddy introduced me to Vyvanse, and then I got myself prescribed. It was super easy. I
Is that
just
like an
looked up
opiate?
the symptoms.
Vyvanse?
No,
Was it a
Vyvanse is a stimulant.
stimulant? Okay.
It's
Yep. Amphetamine. Yep.
it's like Adderall,
Yep. Yeah.
but
You said
for
you
me
had
it was
your
better.
ADHD medication, so amphetamines. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
took it as prescribed for a little while, and what I ended up doing was I decided to go to Europe with my best friend and his little brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Euro trip.
Um, and it was a Euro trip, right? But all of a sudden, I ran out of my pills there, and I was the most impulsive,
Mm.
antisocial person. It was the first time in my life. It was 4.5 months, 36 cities, 25 countries. I remember probably about 7 of them.
Getting
You
it
know,
in. Yeah.
getting it in. I had a girlfriend at the time. I cheated on her probably about 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was all bad.
I it was all bad. It was the first time, and get this, my best friend, my best friend and his little brother was Jake Bond and James Bond. So I traveled Europe with James Bond,
With the bond with
right?
James Bond. Oh wow,
Right.
that's a free drink at every bar at least. That's good for
Dude,
one
it
free
was.
round.
We almost lost his passport 100 times,
Goodness
but
gracious.
it sounds like a fever dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you did not travel with James. And I'm like, James Thomas Bond the third. There it is. Um, and I just can't get over that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in Ireland, um, towards the end of our trip, he came up to me and was like, "Breske, I really think you have a problem." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You disappeared on us 4 or 5 times. I almost ran off with an Australian chick
Oh
at
wow,
one point,
it's the
and
accent,
then
man. Yeah.
I don't know what it is." Um, and in Britain too, it's weird because, like, how, like, American women swoon over the British accent, at least
Mm-hmm.
um, the proper one, right? The posh one. In Britain, it's the opposite with Americans. Apparently, they think our accent's really sexy. And I was like, I did not know this. And this is incredible for me. Here we go. Um, and anyway, I got back home in August, and I remember I was withdrawing from all kinds of drugs. I did ecstasy, psychedelics while I was there. We stayed in a hippie commune for 4 days, and I did a bunch of ketamine. Um, Again, disassociative.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
All the stuff they
and
tell you not to do, all the stuff that Dare warned
yeah,
us about.
yeah. And I was like, I had fun with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But when I got back home, I didn't know how to get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started taking 3 or 4 of my Vyvanse at the same time, and voila, I was cured. That's the
Mm.
answer. This is it.
Yep.
But
Self medication. Yeah.
dude, and like, it kept me stuck uh, in the hotel business forever. I was a hotel supervisor at 2 different places, and the thing is like, again, another symptom, risky sexual behavior, right?
Yeah, risky behavior.
I was involved with my boss who was married. She was about 7 years older, and she was from France, so she
Okay,
wasn't even a full
scandalous,
U.S.
man.
citizen.
Hey, man, this
Yeah,
isn't the
dude.
red table, but hey, you put your business out there. Don't put it. Hey, you put it out there now.
I
We did
don't.
not have to compulse
I don't
anybody.
care. I don't
Nah, but
care,
it's
man.
real. It's part of
I'm
the
an
journey,
open
man.
book, dude.
Yeah, it's for real. It's part of the journey.
I'm an open book, and like for 2 years we played house, right? Like for 2 years, I was spending all my money on the dark web, making sure I had the proper drug supply, and then all of a sudden the money ran out, right? And like being with her was like living 5 categories of Pornhub for 2 years. You know what I mean? Work, boss, married, French. Like it was
It was a
ridiculous.
lot. It was a lot going on.
And it really warped my idea of relationships. And like once you live like that fantasy, once you experience that, like it's almost like when people tell you when you have sex on ecstasy, it ruins it. For me, it was that. I was like, how am I supposed to tell anyone that I did this?
hmm
And they're gonna trust me, And anyway, I ran out of the money, and I was suicidal. Another symptom, right?
Yeah,
I
emptiness. That
drank.
emptiness came. Yep.
Yeah, that I was super empty. All of a sudden, I didn't have power with money anymore. I just felt very worthless. No one wanted to party with me anymore. No one craved me. I read the 48 Laws of Power, and one of the laws in there talks about make yourself scarce, and that's what I did. Right, like I'd be the entertainer for everybody. And in the book, it says people will crave you. You know what I mean? But no one called me.
He's like, it didn't work, man. I ran this game, this super Mac Daddy game, and then still no, my phone's still dry. But but actually one of the symptoms that I was, my little bit of research on this was, an unstable self image.
Yep.
People aren't calling you, people aren't, reacting to you. You can't supply this, and you're not the man with all that. Then there's that emptiness in there, and then at the same
Yep.
time, there's this, your relationship with people where you like people. You can be really, close with somebody, but at the same time devalue them, as you said. That those
Yeah.
two extremes with the same thing. You could be at one time
Right.
really enthralled and so excited about something that you're at the same time disgusted and ashamed and can't tell anybody about. you know?
Right. And I deal with that to this day. And
hmm
and I've been to 4 different treatments. I've been clean for about 14 months.
Okay.
Uh, and
Hey
but
man,
I've
shout out
had
to you,
10.
bro. Yeah, man,
Yeah,
that's no
yeah, no,
small
no
thing.
bigs, no
Hey,
bigs.
yeah, shout out to you, bro.
I go to bars and tell people how much better I am than them. No, just kidding. But
yeah.
funny story. My first year attempting sobriety, I would go to bars and just like weirdly tempt myself. Like I don't know. Like, have you guys seen Dodgeball at all?
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
there's a scene in there where Ben Stiller, like, he used to be fat, right? And
hmm
he's like rubbing himself to pizza.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing with alcohol.
I
That's what I
remember
was
that.
doing. I was just
Just
going around
staring
it,
at it.
and I was like,
Yeah, you're not so bad. Ooh,
yeah, I got this. Yeah, you
yeah.
want that, don't you? And it just like
It's just yeah.
it was psycho, man. And like even being clean doesn't make you sane, right?
Ooh, say that again for the people in the nosebleed sections in the back.
Being clean doesn't make you. It doesn't cure you.
Yeah,
You
your
have to
mental
do
health
all of these
disorders,
other things.
conditions, illnesses are still there. Absolutely. And actually, I've heard that too. Like, that's what people get really disappointed when somebody, their family member gets sober. They expect them to be such a nice person, but actually, man, if they got issues and personality things,
It
it's
takes
still
a long
there.
time.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. I'm still working on it, man, and it's going to be a work in progress the rest of my life. Like, my biggest flaw right now is there's a show on Amazon called Invincible, right? And in this, it's about superheroes and all this
Yeah,
kind
man.
of
I like
stuff.
that show. Yeah, the cartoon. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like his
dude,
costume.
it's so violent and so insane. And in there, his dad's like that version of Superman, and he's like, I got to deal with small crimes, and he was like, no, we're more of the bigger picture thing, right? And that's kind of how I was. Like, I was like, I gotta speak in front of people. I gotta volunteer at all these places. I gotta post about it
Grandiose. Yes,
for the
everything's
clout,
yeah.
you
Do it
know.
for the gram,
And
bro.
yeah, dude, and I was doing it for the likes, not for myself.
I got something for you, James. I mean, first of all, I just want to say you've been through one hell of a journey.
Thanks, brother.
So I applaud you for keeping your head up and continuing the fight. For me, when when you say you were diagnosed with what's it called? A split personality disorder,
Yep.
borderline. What was that news like for you? How did you go about, I guess you say, accepting that and just the next couple of days really just diving into what's really going on? How did that affect your
It
mood?
didn't. I ignored it for 2 years. It really. I felt betrayed because um,
Well, how did
when
you
I got
find out? Back it
diagnosed,
up a little bit. Yeah, how did you go seek that out? Like,
I went to Hazelden, the super fancy one. You know, the first treatment.
yeah. The recovery clinic. He told us about that. Steve,
Hmm.
Steve, Steve.
Yeah. You get steak and eggs for dinner, and
Mm-hmm.
like, hold on,
The
family, I got to go get a
the
massage.
celebrity
I'm gonna go do
rehab.
yoga,
Yeah, the celebrity rehab. Yeah.
and like I. All of a sudden, they brought that up. They said, you know, you have symptoms of borderline personality disorder. I was like, okay, cool. Is there a pill for it? No, not really. You know, we could help you with the antidepressant, you know. And I remember at Hazelden the first time, I was very frustrated because like the alcoholics got barbiturates, you know, like they got something to wean themselves on. The opiate
Mm-hmm.
addicts got Suboxone and methadone. And I was like, what do the stimulant addicts get? What do we get? And I remember my counselor was like, you get the meditation center and the gym.
There you go. That's
And I
important
was
to say.
like,
There's no pill. There's no magic pill. Um,
and I was pissed. I was so angry at that. And I think I'm the only guy ever to go into treatment and lose a bunch of weight because when I went into treatment, even though I was hooked on amphetamines, I would drink about 12, 13 beers a night. So I weighed about 255
okay,
when
yeah, a
I
lot of calories.
got
Yeah.
in. When I got into Hazel, then when I left, I weighed 220. Um, I worked out religiously. It became my new kind of, kind of addiction through that. But all of a sudden,
Yeah, I understand that.
but I was just focusing on what I looked like, though. I wasn't really concentrating on the good mental health aspects of it. I was just like, I was trying to make myself look great, right? So when I get out, people will crave me, right?
That's
Because
right.
I
I'm gonna
still believe
stun on
that.
him. Yeah, I'm gonna stun on him.
And, I got out and I thought I was going to be a one chip wonder, man. But I didn't deal with the BPD. I didn't deal with I dealt with the addiction part. I dealt with, the depression part, but I didn't deal with the behavior part. And this is the hardest part of recovery for me is the behaviors, right? Like putting down the drugs and stuff. Yeah, it sucks the first like couple months, right? Like even 6 months. It sucks, right? I never thought I was going to feel pleasure again up until day 60, right? Like that's how warped my brain was, you know? And, but I didn't deal with the BPD, which causes the addictive behaviors. You know, it's part of the reasons why that happened. And like a very huge
Yeah, losing a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of death early on in life. Yeah.
sense of from girl to girl to girl to girl, trying to find that same thing, right? Like, this is the answer, this is the answer, this is the answer. And I never found the answer, right? Because I was looking for a cure. I was looking for a magic pill, a magic woman to save me, right? A mother almost. And like I couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden all these girls would leave or I call myself good luck Chuck in real life because like 6 of my exes are married now. But it like and then I finally started this year actually tackling it. I relapsed on meth and heroin. I shot it up. I never thought I would do that. I always thought I was a sophisticated addict, right? I would just take the
Mm-hmm. Get the,
pills that were
yeah,
made
there's
in the
certain lines
lab,
you won't
right?
cross. Exactly. I'm not like those others, but hey, man, life
And then
has
I
a way of
was,
humbling you. Yeah.
and then I was, right? And that's what like kind of got me out of the meetings a lot was like, these people are dumb. I'm better than everyone in here. Like, I don't have any kids. I don't have any criminal record. I don't have blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. But I fail to look at, hey, man, you put yourself in debt when you had all the money in the world. Hey, man, you are hurting all the people that actually care and love you because they don't understand what's going on with you, and you won't be honest and open about what is right. So this year I had a 4-year I thought about going back to treatment, but I was like, I've had a 4-year education in this. I got to tackle all of this. In
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, thank you all the taxpayers because I owe the state my life.
Have
I
great
really do.
resources. They really do. Yes.
And like it saved my life. I'm still on the min care, and that's how I'm able to get the proper treatment and stuff that I am receiving now. Um,
That's what's
and
up, man.
now I'm working on the behavior part.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest thing is such. Again, it's like I don't do. I'm a slob. My car's always a
Mm-hmm.
mess. My room's
Mm-hmm.
always a mess. And then as it with like this article that I read like 10 years ago, if you have a messy living space, that means you're a genius. That means smart people have that,
Those
right? Or dudes
articles that
have that.
randomly pop up to like make us feel bad about our real quirks. That like this actually means I'm better than
Yeah.
you, right?
Right. And it's just like confirmation bias at its finest, right? Like, yeah,
Yes,
I'm going to click
definitely.
on this and I'm going to believe it for the rest of my life. This is what's real, and it's just as bad as like a flat earther or someone, you know what I mean? And I just, and now to bring it kind of to the present, I'm not like, I almost, to be honest with you guys, I almost relapsed yesterday. I, uh, I, I and it was again with this behavior that I haven't been really handling. I found out my cousin died last week. My best friend's girlfriend committed suicide, and dude, and like I wasn't handling it properly, right? Like I just was like, oh, that's life, and blah blah blah. But on the inside, I was on fire again. And my friend asked me to take care of her dying dog, right? While she was like at work, and I went over there yesterday and I found out the dogs take Xanax, and Xanax wasn't even my drug of choice. And I, I and I took out like 4 of the Xanax and I put it in like a little box, and then I went to the gym, and then someone called me, right? And this is kind of like the what's that Jim Carrey movie where he's in a show, The Truman Show, and yeah, and like and that's what I consider like kind of my higher power is just like weird, crazy coincidences. And this guy needed a ride to this meeting that I wasn't going to go to because I was going to go home and take a bunch of Xanax and forget about everything. And so on my way to pick him up, he lived right next to the house, right? So I made a pit stop, dropped off the pills, put them back, called the owner, let her know what happened, and I ratted myself out at that meeting, and I told the guy that I picked up, you just probably saved my life. That's because again, I wasn't dealing with the symptoms properly, and I haven't been doing my normal rituals in the morning because you have to have like, for me, I call it doing it my makeup in the morning. I immediately hit my knees and pray to something. I don't know what it is. Jesus, food. I don't care. Right. I just know that I'm not shooting up anymore for fun. I'm not ODing in my car,
Hey, that's
you
enough to
know?
praise anything for. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's
And I
enough
don't know
to
what it
put a
is.
song in your heart.
I don't know what it is. Right. Like, and that's what I tell people. And that's what I tell my sponsees too. It's like, pray to something. You don't have to believe in some white guy with a beard. You don't have to believe in that. Just like understand that there is a connectedness and there is something bigger than ourselves. And every morning is the hardest part for me because I told you this earlier, but when we met the first time, but like I'm like that chick on 51st Dates. She forgets every 24 hours, right? In the morning, I wake up selfish, malcontent, angry, all of the worst of the symptoms, right? every morning, right? And a lot of people say at night or during the weekends or during summer. But in order to get out of that, I hit my knees, pray to something. I always thought that was kinky, but I tell you what, I put my gimp suit on and I pray to something. I don't care. I immediately write down 5 things I'm grateful for, 3 ways to make the day actually productive, right? Make it realistic, like with don't say like win the lottery, get a supermodel, you know what I mean? Like make them small, aim small, miss small, you know. And then after that, I write down 2 positive affirmations, and that's the hardest part because I have body dysmorphia. I'll be I people say I look good, I look buff and stuff like that, but I just don't believe them, and it's hard. I understand that, like, I'm starting to get like, yeah, now, man, you're fine. You know what I mean? But I still have that, and I have to do these rituals every morning. Yeah, and it's a lifelong thing. And this is the thing about it is it's kind of you could lose yourself in it, right? Like you could do what I almost did yesterday and not handle anything and not pick up the phone or ask for help. And that's another thing too. As a guy, especially growing up in the most rugged places
Yeah, the
in
Alaskan.
America, you know, it was like, no, you pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You don't need to ask for help. You know, you figured out how to do this and that and blah 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 blah. And no, I need this. I need people. I need people like Steve. I need people like you to help spread the message that this is actually possible.
Hmm.
And even if you're not making it, even if it doesn't feel like you're making like any kind of strides, like we're human, we're not machines. You know, when people say, you know, screw your feelings, don't listen to that because like that's something a robot would say to a squirrel and a squirrel wouldn't understand,
Yeah, exactly. It means
you
nothing.
know.
Man,
And
that's amazing, James. For you to stop and realize, hey, man, something is wrong, and just for that person to to happen to ask you for a ride and all that, and you stopped yourself. That's amazing. That I applaud again for you, man. That's some tough stuff, and you carry on such a positive attitude still, and that's amazing. And I'm happy that you shared that because other people that are listening, those could be some very helpful tips. It sounds corny,
I
to be
know
like, hey, wake up in the morning, pray to something and stuff, but it
it
works.
works.
If that's what you need to do and it
Yeah.
works, then it works. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and it works for me. And
So again,
there's
thank you
different,
for sharing that.
yeah. And thank you for this opportunity too. And in this journey too, it's just like, yeah, I have to do this. And now it's kind of like I live in 2 separate worlds, right? Like I live that addict, um, super symptomatic, borderline personality disorder world on one end, and then I live in the normal world now, where things are like the quote unquote normal world. And I'm able to see both sides, and that's empathy right there. And I say this a lot, but like you guys spreading the message about any kind of mental health awareness, and having people share, like when people share their experience, strength, hope, whatever, like all the corny things, right? Like all of a sudden, it's not about that person anymore. It's not about me. It becomes the we, because you share something, it might actually touch someone. And then we are all lighthouses of hope. We all are. There's
Yes,
no matter
definitely.
what we are, all of us have to find a way to light that light, you know? And it takes a long time, and a lot of people lose themselves before they realize that. I always thought, like, I always, in my head, I always wanted to be, you know, someone powerful, someone that I wanted to be like Jeffrey Bezos. Like, yeah, I'll wear a cowboy hat
Mhm.
on a dick shaped rocket ship, you know, and say, screw my workers. But no, you know what my purpose in life is? And I have to remember this because right now I work at a gas station. I live in my aunt's attic at 31. But the thing is like, as sad as I get about that, I have to remember what my true purpose is. And my purpose is to help struggling people in any way, shape, or form. and everything else will kind of fall into place. Um, so
That's
Very
perspective,
well
man. That's
said,
perspective
man.
because one thing, and I like how you just said like this is where you're at right now, but it's only temporary, and that's the only thing that's permanent. The trick of whatever you're going through, whenever you're going through tough times, is to always remember that you're going through it. It's a dynamic experience. It's always changing,
yeah,
and you know just like you've seen how bad things can change when you can relapse. You've seen yourself go back the other way. That's just how fast things can launch forward too. So you get to see the whole gamut of it. But man, but thanks for that, man. That's so much. Like you gave us so much information in your experience. With this dealing. Not only with addiction and recovering from that, but your own personal mental health. Issues and continuing to address that. It's a double fight that you're fighting on both fronts, but you're fighting a good fight. And thank you so much for sharing that, man. We appreciate that, man. And we're definitely gonna have to have you come back again, man. You're the fam now. Steve's
I dig
multiple
it.
time guest. Now we got
Ooh,
multi guests. Now we're up to like what 25 episodes. So now we getting repeat people. So next time you come back, you can definitely share some more about therapy itself and the process of that, and even
absolutely.
yeah, definitely give us an update on what how you're doing and everything, and then to encourage other people who are out there who are struggling with it, because again, I learned it's not as uncommon as you think. People, 1 out of every 100 people, have
Yep,
BPD, and it's probably
yep,
underdiagnosed because, as he said, when he got the initial diagnosis, he didn't even want to hear it. There's so many people out
nope.
there like that, man. So, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah, no worries. I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate you guys. Keep spreading the word, and remember, you guys are lighthouses, right?
I like
So,
that. We taking that.
um, and the other thing, the last thing I'll kind of say to you is, like, we're as a person going through this journey, right? Like, there, I'd rather uh, choreograph a dance with my demons than to actually wrestle with them, if that makes sense. To
Mm.
understand what my demons are, because that is me. That is forever going to be me. And there's that famous quote, like kids are afraid of monsters in the dark until, when they get older, they look in the mirror and they realize the monsters are right there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we have to tame those monsters, but they're never, for me, I know they're never going to leave, right? But I could choreograph how that works in a way with therapy, with help, with recovery, with volunteering, with all of the positive things. And again, that doesn't make you perfect. I still do crazy stuff. Like yesterday, stealing medicine from a dying dog.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man.
What? You know?
Hey,
So,
you're on the journey in process, man. But hey, we appreciate it, and definitely keep us updated
absolutely. I
for sure.
will. I will.
Yeah, man. So again, James, thank you for your time and everything with coming on the show. Pretty much this part is just a mental break. We'll finish on a lighter note. Again, I thank you for sharing your experience and your journey. Uh, One last thing before we go. If, for you, James, your travel destination spot, where would you go tomorrow if you could, and money was not an option? I mean, and money was not a problem.
Money wasn't a problem, and I would travel.
Tomorrow, hop in the
Yeah.
plane tomorrow. Where you going?
You go to
Yep,
Ukraine,
just hop on and go.
just save the Ukrainian. No, I'm just kidding.
See, I'm about to say, wow, you about to virtue signal that hard, my brother? That is.
The hashtag white savior
I'm telling you, that
complex
would have been
there.
epic levels right there.
Honestly, man, I would love to go back to Paris. I
Ooh,
barely
wee
remember
wee.
it, and I thought it was one of the coolest cities from what I remember. Just because it's so old, I didn't really get to experience like the the cultural parts, right? Like I hung off the Eiffel, just like that one song by Kanye and stuff. And
There
I
we
have a
go.
picture of that, which is kind of cool. But I didn't sit and appreciate the art
Hmm.
that is housed there. I didn't appreciate like I'm a huge history nerd,
Yeah.
and France is one of the main reasons why America is America.
Hey,
Um,
viva la revolution.
yeah, yeah, man, and I appreciate their culture, and I would love to go back to Paris again and just kind of explore and see the ins and outs of it, and not just the dark underbelly, right? So
Very nice. What about you, Eric?
Well, for me, I guess if I gotta take a trip tomorrow, um, I'm definitely, you know what? Because I'm a bit of a history guy myself, man. I would love to go to like Istanbul, like
Oh
Turkey.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
Istanbul.
yeah.
There's like a lot of culture. I watch like
Ooh,
some, those food shows and travel food shows and stuff. And when they go to there,
Oh
there's
yeah.
so much stuff there because it's like they used to call it Asia Minor in the Bible, I think, and it used to be kind of known as that. And it's like we're kind of like the Europe meets the Middle East, like
Yep.
just that fusion, everything like there's so much history, so much information. And again, the food looks bomb, and then it looks colorful. Everything just it looks. Every time I see it on TV, I'm like, man, that would it looks like a place that's
that would
got
be
a
a
lot of
nice spot
stuff
to
there.
go.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Istanbul, Turkey.
Yep.
Right.
Istanbul
Very
would
nice.
be amazing. Oh
Mm,
God. Good call.
Right.
We didn't make it
yeah.
there either. So
Next time.
next time. There will be a next
Yep.
time.
Yep.
That's what I have to tell myself.
Nice, nice, nice.
So,
All right,
so.
Yes.
where you
Yes.
hopping on the jet to, Mina?
For me, man, I'm kind of feeling zen vibe. I do want to go see Niagara Falls. Never been.
I
Really?
hear it is beautiful.
It's just
Yeah,
something
no,
about
I
the
hear it's
Okay.
waters.
powerful
Something
stuff.
about the water, man.
Okay. I
Yes.
respect.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's all I got for us. Definitely. I mean, that's all I got for us. Anything? Any last words from either of you?
Again, thank you, boys. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep going. And I am honored, and I really appreciate what you guys do to take your time to wake people up, to kind of shake them, to force them to take the red pill, in a sense. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. We're just doing our Morpheus duty out here. Waking people up out the matrix. So, but on a serious note, thank you for coming, man. We do appreciate it. Thank you all for listening out there. Hope you got something out of this show. Hope some information was shared that you can take with you or experience that can encourage you to get the mental health that you need so you can live the life that you want. And until next time, peace.